Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time we've got the pleasure of watching Zbad playing in the Tier 9 Soviet medium tank. It is the Object 430. However, it hasn't been Tier 9 for all that long. This vehicle was moved from Tier 10 down to Tier 9 to make way for the Object 430U, which is now arguably the best freely available Tier 10 Soviet medium tank, at least for the majority of players. Now, I kind of facepalm a little bit when I think about this, but back when this tank was at Tier 10, it was kind of one of my favorite vehicles for a while. I thought that the wild rate of fire that this vehicle had made up for the awful accuracy and awful gun handling, and also that the armor, which was 120mm of well-angled frontal armor, which was definitely better than that on the Object 140 and T62A, allowed it to brawl better in situations. And while that was right, in retrospect now, I kind of wish I'd just stuck with the Object 140, because it took me a while of faffing around with the 430 before I kind of gave up on it a little bit at Tier 10. And the nail in the coffin was when I played the Object 430 in ranked battles, and I had an exceptionally skilled crew, like a 6-skill crew, and I was try-harding, I was really trying very hard, and I wasn't really climbing as fast as I thought I deserved to be, or as I wanted to be, what my goals were. And as soon as I jumped into the Object 140, climb, it was way easier. Now of course, you could argue that the Object 430, when it was at Tier 10, was really designed to punish low penetration tanks with its armor, and to go and get into close quarters combat that not a lot of the ranked battles is, and so it'd do far better against a Tier 8 or a Tier 9 tank than the 140 would, whereas the 140's got more finesse and it's probably going to do better against heat spam and sniping at long range and against Tier 10 only tanks like you would have in ranked. So maybe it wasn't a completely fair comparison, but I still stand by it, and I think that gun handling is of so much importance when you're playing on a Tier 10 medium tank, and Wargaming often don't show you the soft stats of gun dispersions as I do in my full reviews or in my previews on this channel. So what did Wargaming do to the 430 when they dropped it down to Tier 9 and had it lead on to the Object 430U? Well, they increased the alpha damage. Yeah, from 320 up to 390, albeit they absolutely destroyed the rate of fire of the vehicle, but it's definitely not terrible at 2,400 DPM. And now it competes with vehicles like the Centurion 7-1, or alternatively like the Patton that just lost 372 hit points, as this vehicle has 390 average alpha. And that does feel like you have more time to angle your armor between the shots than you ever used to in the Object 430. Oh dear, artillery on Zbad's team takes a swing at the Object 277, and it looks like he also stuns two of his allies as well. Collateral damage there. I'm not sure really what I think about that artillery. I think they were absolutely fine, and maybe you should have been aiming in different parts of the map. Anyway, whatever. Maybe the GW Tiger thought that he was going to be able to help out Zbad there in the almost certain scenario that Zbad was going to annihilate that 110 and Object 277, but what are you going to do? Alright, so Zbad now hitting the middle of the map. He's going to go and try and find a shot into the side of this T95, but he's got to be careful because there's also a TVP and a Borsig that we don't know where the Borsig is, but now we do, and there you go, 362 damage. Zbad angles his armor towards the next threat, knowing that the Borsig has missed, sees that the T95 isn't going to be able to shoot him, and is confident in his reload as he manages to shut down the Tier 8 German turreted tank destroyer, and now decides to advance, but oh my word, going to be in a bit of a crossfire here. Alright, well, when you're in a crossfire, how'd you get out the crossfire? With aggression, right? Luckily, Zbad heard the TVP firing at the T10, and thinking about it, they probably got a bit of synergy going on there, and so it doesn't seem so reckless in retrospect, because Zbad probably thought that he has to help out his platoon mate, Janik, to be able to get through this Tier 10 Czechoslovakian medium tank. Oh dear, the first bit of bad RNG / poor marksmanship of this game, as Zbad's unable to get a shot into the TVP, but makes up with it by finishing off that Tier 10 Czechoslovakian medium tank and immediately turning the vehicle around and trying to find some cover, I guess, from the artillery, or alternatively, just from the wealth of Tier 8 tanks that are still sitting towards the enemy's base. Alright, so this game is starting to look pretty darn good for Zbad when you think about it. He's got his platoon mate still alive, albeit on very low hit points, and they've vanquished most of the Tier 9s on the enemy team, but there's still one Tier 10, the T110E4, that's propping up the enemy team. Looks like the T110E4 was spotted over towards with the Pershing over here, and it looks like Zbad is going to take Janik and they're going to go and try and stop that turreted Tier 10 American tank destroyer from vanquishing the base, but oh dear. Yeah, it doesn't look like Janik is going to be coming with Zbad here, as the TVP VTU finishes off Janik, and now Zbad is going to have to just go solo, and oh wow, this game just completely turned around, with the WT Alf Panzer IV getting shut down by the TVP on the enemy team. And it looks like Zbad takes a look to see what that penetration in the back of his turret was. Yeah, it looks like you've got some new ventilation holes. Maybe that's going to improve your crew skill on this vehicle. We'll have to see. All right, there's the Pershing marching towards the GW Tiger, who puts in a big whopping hit for 478 against the Pershing and stuns the crew, which will allow Zbad to punish that tier 8 American medium tank. Good stuff, Zbad. Finish him off just before the artillery dies. Good stuff. And the T-124 is wounded. Looks like the enemy artillery narrowly misses the ridge while hitting Zbad over the ridge line. And now Zbad turns his attention towards the T-124, loading a premium round, which is definitely going to help against the top of the tank. 270 millimeters of penetration, definitely not incredible. And 238 millimeters of standard pen means that this vehicle is actually pretty good for a free-to-play player. Probably not quite as good as you would have on the Object 430 version 2 now. Definitely not terrible. But it's the premium rounds on this tank that really do fall apart compared to the 330 millimeters of penetration that you have on the heat rounds on the T-54, for example. So definitely take that into account if you are a gold noob and you want to be firing those premium rounds willy-nilly. Wow, Zbad showing his quality as a player here. Getting an angle on the T-124 that this T-124 does not expect. Until it's too late, you could see there was that moment where the T-124 reversed and turned the turret a little bit, but a clinical takedown there. Zbad, what a kill to take on the higher tier vehicle. Alright, so slowly clawing his team back into the game now on 4 kills, with work cut out for them here. It's an artillery and 2 tier 9 medium tanks versus 6 enemy vehicles. Oh my god, no, 7 enemy vehicles on the enemy team. A T-10, a bat chat that's constantly going to be harassing them. And yeah, that T-10 has some hit points waltzing in. Zbad's going to have to shoot him 3 times, or alternatively get that tier 9 French autoloading medium tank to help him if he wants to vanquish this T-10. Alright, so Zbad deciding to use the ridgeline, right? Why not use the turret armor on this vehicle? It's got 248 millimeters of frontal turret armor. And Zbad punishes the T-10 for getting caught out in a crossfire, being a little bit ambitious at the end of the game here, I believe. And Zbad's got to get stuck in here. Can't allow the bat chat to soak up too much damage. How healthy is the bat chat on top of the hill? 220 hit points. Isn't going to be distracting the enemy team for very much longer unless Zbad managed to get some more shells in. Oh, that was a bit of a lucky one there. Went right through the mantlet of the Carnarvon there. I guess that was a premium round going up into it from a funky angle of the Carnarvon, actually wedging his tank upwards so far that mantlet was angled poorly. Zbad going now for the Carnarvon's turret. Thinking about the T-10. Who's he going to pick? He picks the Carnarvon. Good choice in my opinion, as the Carnarvon managed to put in a round for 314 there. Alright, the bat chat shows that he's still involved in this game, shuts down the tier 9 Soviet medium tank, and the TVP ventures forward to try and shut down the bat chat. Bat chat puts 2 rounds in before he goes down and allows Zbad to put in 1 more round. 5 kills now. The artillery pushes forwards. Zbad keeping him in the game earlier to allow the artillery to shoot the TVP. No, not quite. Okay, is the artillery going to die to the TVP or the artillery now? Oh, is the artillery shell coming in? No, not quite. Okay, good stuff. Now, looks like Zbad's realizing, all right, the TVP's in that position. Surely they must be coming from behind. And that's just instincts right now. This is just instincts that Zbad is oozing in this replay. Perfect stuff right now to think, okay, yeah, they're probably coming from the other side if we haven't seen them for a while, right? And shuts down the AMX before they're able to take out the artillery, or alternatively, remove some of Zbad's precious hit points. Because you know what? When you're in a 2 versus 5 situation, which is now 2 versus 4, still 2 versus 4, I was thinking maybe we'd be able to roll extra high. That's actually not possible. This vehicle only able to roll up for just under 500 if you get lucky. But Zbad overmatches what looks like the side of the TVP's armor there. And that's what you can do with this tank. If they've got 40 millimeters of armor, you just go through it every single time, irrelevant of how well angled it is, because you're packing 122 millimeter, unlike the T-54, which is only going to overmatch like 33 millimeter plates. Alright, so Zbad shuts down the TVP VTU, and now in a 2 versus 3 situation, and the artillery should be giving some good support. But Zbad's starting to run low on ammunition when you think about it. 9 shells of AP, 3 APCR, and 3 high explosive rounds. How much health has a Ferdinand got? 1,500? Well, 4 of those are going to have to be dedicated towards the Ferdinand. Yeah, Zbad, hopefully you're not going to start to waste your shells, buddy. Alright, we'll have to see how it goes. Anyway, Zbad now trying to spot out, but oh my word, the sneaky artillery on the enemy team. We haven't seen the light tank in a while, but we're seeing the artillery flank up, get behind the GW Tiger, who seems like, is the GW Tiger trying to run away or just slip down the side of the slope? Either way, with a shutdown there, well, you know what, that's probably quite a good trade for Zbad. The artillery is now going to allow Zbad to get a clean shot in through, and this is probably where you'd want to be in a T-54 instead, right? Be a little bit faster. And also you get to fire your second shell way earlier. Wow, Zbad fluffs a shell there, trying to hit the Batchat 155.55 as they ran away. Gonna have to be careful here, actually, Zbad, with the amount of ammunition you have left, buddy. Anyway, Batchat 155.55, another miss. Probably not too worried, thinking, well, there's a Ferdinand and a Batchat. I probably only need about 8 shells left for them. So, you know, I've still got 4 to mess around with the Batchatillon. All right. So the Batchatillon, a very fast self-propelled gun, seems to be bombing it away from Zbad right now. Will he be able to outpace the Tier 9 Soviet medium tank? Well, looks like the artillery actually turned around to make a final stand. Probably a good choice, because I'm not sure if you're going to make your way away from a vehicle that can go at 50 kilometers an hour and has a power-to-weight ratio of just shy of 15. Alright, now Zbad secures a kill on the self-propelled gun and turns his attention towards the Ferdinand, who was last spotted towards the enemy base. Alright, with 696 hit points here, gotta be careful. A Batchatillon 12T with the autoloader, if they're using the top gun, I believe has 170 alpha damage, and that times by 4 is going to be 680, right? So literally a 50-50 if the Batchatillon 12T manages to unload. Zbad is going to probably not be in the game half the time. It's going to be a coin flip pretty much. And if the Batchat penetrates once, then that's also going to allow the Ferdinand to finish off Zbad if he manages to put in just 1 shell with that 128mm German tank destroyer gun. Alright, Zbad, 3 minutes and 30 seconds left on the game. 2 tanks to hunt down, and that is just perfect. The Ferdinand was trying to set up an ambush, and that is not going to work out for the Ferdinand for very long. Zbad, be careful you don't roll yourself off the bridge here. I've sometimes done that myself. Puts a second round in, and oh, the track nearly over the edge. If you do get your track over the edge, he would have been fine, actually, because as we can see, the way that the bridge works here, it will work out for him. He'll be able to slide across. But if you do that on this side, yeah, as soon as your track is off, you aren't getting that track back on. I've done that a couple of times in World of Tanks, and it's pretty embarrassing when you've got a few thousand people watching you just slowly kind of become Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and just grind your way to death. Anyway, 2 shells there into the Ferdinand means that 2 more will be required to shut down the German tank destroyer. Alright, Zbad on 8 kills. There's the Ferdinand. 1 round of APCR rounds left, and the Ferdinand just chunks through Zbad's armor, now putting him down to 144 hit points, which means that the Batchat 12T needs to put 1 shell into him to finish him off. Nevertheless, Zbad looks like he bounces off the side of the Ferdinand there as he goes in, puts the second one in, and he's got to be thinking about where the Batchat is. Surely you've got to try and protect yourself. Where's the Batchat right now, Zbad? I mean, you've got this thing on a platter. It's where the Batchat is that really matters. 2 minutes and 15 seconds left on the game? What are we going to do? What is Zbad going to do to try and find this Batchat right now? The tier 5, the tier 8 French light tank could be anywhere right now. Let's scroll back and try and see if we've got any kind of help. Alright, well the T-44-100 suggests that the Batchat is on 70% of the hit points and suggesting that the Batchat is AFK. They've been saying it all the time throughout the game that the Batchat is AFK. We're just going to have to go and find out if that's the case. I'm not going to make it that easy on you. When have you seen me put a replay up on this channel where the final remaining tank is the AFK tank? Doesn't usually happen too much, right? I can't remember if I've put a video out like that. I've got something special for you here, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a very unusual situation. Zbad has 6 rounds of ammunition left, right? The Batchatillon 12T, I believe, has 1,000 hit points. So in theory, Zbad only has to hit 3 of his shells to be able to take him out if he's managing to penetrate all of the APCR shells. Now the team is starting to make the story a little bit deeper. The Batchat 25T AP says that the enemy light tank tried a boost and failed. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, what's this? Okay. 182 damage. Alright. The Batchat is stuck almost out of the terrain. Alright, next high explosive round. 216 damage. Uh-oh. Oh, this is where it starts to get very interesting with 44 seconds left on the game. The rate of fire of this vehicle should be enough to fire all the remaining rounds. Alright, 403 hit points now, but you've run out of high explosive rounds, Zbad. Can you even see the hull of this tank? That's not the hull. Uh-oh. Ladies and gents, 2 shells left. 403 hit points. And it low rolls 353 with 20 seconds left on the game. Is this one going to hit the hull or is it going to hit the tracks? Oh, it hits the hull with the final remaining shell of the tank. 14 seconds left on the game. What an absolute bizarre situation this was, that the final remaining tank, I'm not sure he was AFK or the bat chat was turning the turret, failed to boost, got stuck in the most ridiculous location I think I've ever seen in World of Tanks. You couldn't have scripted this. And it looks like Zbad was just able to squeak a shell into the hull of the Bat Chatillon 12T with the final remaining shell, securing a 10th kill and an impressive carry. So an impressive selection of medals here for Zbad. The Pools medal for that 10th kill. The Faden's medal, that one's quite unusual, for destroying the final remaining tank with your final remaining shell. A Levislaio's medal for destroying 2 enemy tanks or tank destroyers with a medium tank in one battle that are at least 1 tier higher than you, and a high caliber for a whopping amount of damage for a tier 9 tank, 9,429, and I love it. Zbad says, "My hands were shaking and my heart was beating like crazy." I have absolutely no doubt. Zbad, I would probably be sweating buckets if I'd been in your situation. And yeah, just broke, even kind of. But who really gives a darn when you have a game of World of Tanks like this with 2,061 base experience points? Zbad, congratulations to you on an absolute monster carry. And thank you so much for uploading this incredibly unusual situation on the WOT Replays website. I just loved it and I knew I wanted to share it with the community. And I hope all of you enjoyed this video as well. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. But if you hated it, make sure you give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments if you have seen any ridiculous scenarios like this in a game. Maybe the final tank has run out of ammunition and is slowly ramming a vehicle to death. Or has a vehicle managed to get themselves into a position where nobody can find them at the end of the game. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic and hopefully I'll see you soon.